Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me be here. Just want to let everyone know that this is actually the first conference I have ever presented at. So please forgive me if there's, blips I'm making or doesn't flow as smoothly as all the other fabulous presentations that we heard so far. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I guess, human trafficking in India. I want to say that by no means I'm an expert. This presentation was put together through my experience volunteering in India for 3 months in a place called Hyderabad. I apologize I didn't have a map with me, which is south of India. It's a city south of India with Operation Mobilization, which is a Christian organization that specializes in church building, but also working with local Christian communities around the world to conduct social development programs. So they have a very holistic ministry looking at health, education, and social justice, which is in which this new initiative, Anti-Human Trafficking Unit, is situated, part of their social justice initiative. And yes, so I'm not sure. So this is just a picture I took. Primarily my work there was doing a literature review of anti-human trafficking studies that's done in India, especially on the topic of sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. And I also worked a little bit in different slums that really abound in the suburbs of Hyderabad. So I really like this picture because it's a picture I took of a slum community. So these are women who have kind of immigrated from their own rural villages into this larger city to find work. And I think on one hand, you can see you can say this is a picture of a population that's been displaced, a population that's very no education, lack of literacy, lack of employment opportunities, maybe oppressed, their children are not going to school. But also you can see that, she's hard at work. She's trying to make a life for herself. She is cooking for her family, providing for her family. So I think that tension between victim, when we talk about human trafficking, people who have gone through a significant tragedy, and also survivorship, people who are survivors, they're resilient, they come up with strategies to keep their lives going, is very important. It's a dynamic that we need to hold in mind when we talk about human trafficking. I'm just going to skip through a lot of these slides just in the interest of time. So I'm going to skip this. And for my presentation, I want to focus a bit more on sex trafficking, and especially with a phenomenon called ritual prostitution, which happens not just in India, in all the other parts of the world as well, but especially in India, ritual prostitution. I want to give you a little bit of stats. So India has been placed on UN's Tier 2 watch list for human trafficking, which means that the country has a significant problem with human trafficking, and the government isn't doing necessarily enough to deal with it. And it surprised me to learn that 90% of the trafficking that happens in India is in-country. So it's really traffickers taking girls and women from rural villages and bringing them into the city. And there are also a significant proportion of girls and women trafficked from Nepal and Bangladesh into India for sex purposes. And I think that really speaks to the operation of poverty. So poverty really forces people to become vulnerable to trafficking, that people, when they want to seek a better life, when they want to escape poverty or lack of opportunity in their own country, they become very vulnerable to being trafficked. And 60% of traffic victims are children under the age of 18. Again, sorry I didn't have a map, but Andhra Pradesh, in which the city Hyderabad was situated in, is the 5th largest state in India. It's southern India. Apparently it's got the hottest climate and the hottest food there, so I was in for quite a shock when I went. And it has the highest number of child laborers, as reported by a recent newspaper article. And research shows that Andhra Pradesh is a significant supplier of children and women for commercial sex exploitation to larger metropolises such as Goa, Mumbai, Delhi, Calcutta. So I know you can't see this map very well, but it just shows. So here I think it's Hyderabad, and it's just all the arrows are going out into all the bigger cities. And it's just another slide showing that out of all the provinces, Andhra Pradesh is among one of the largest in human trafficking. So I want to move on to talk a bit about ritualized prostitution, which is something that's that's really not heard of a lot. I guess very not very well-known phenomenon, but it happens a lot in India. It's ritual prostitution. It's really about the worship of the goddess Yalamana, which is a cult, what's called a cult within the Hindu tradition. So families, usually in rural areas, especially in provinces like Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, poor families would dedicate, quote unquote, their girls, usually ages 12 to 15, to the temple of the goddess, where she will wear a red beaded necklace to signify that she is a servant of the goddess. So Deva Dasi, Dasi is servant, and when she becomes of age, usually around 15, 16, she will go through an initiation ritual. And after that, pretty much all the men in the village can have sex with her. And what's different from a Devadasi from a commercial kind of sex worker is that she's not allowed to receive any payment. She's not allowed to ask for any payment for her sexual services. So she can never refuse a sex act. And she basically live off the gifts that the men of the village bring to her, as well as begging. So she would go begging during the day and engage in sexual acts for whoever, whatever male worshiper come to the village, come to the temple to worship and would like sex with her. And when she's not allowed to marry. She's highly, highly stigmatized, even though she is seen as a part of the religious community. She's highly stigmatized. She and her children live in exclusion from the society, from the community. She's not allowed to go to school. And even after she comes to an age where she's no longer kind of wanted in that trade, she becomes a day laborer, so she has to go and work or go and beg for the rest of her life. And there's about 17,000 Devadasis in Andhra Pradesh alone. And it's a practice that's been outlawed by the British government when they, I guess, colonized India, but it still happens on a very frequent basis. And also that a lot of Devadasis, once they become initiated into this practice, they're very vulnerable to being then trafficked into different districts as working in the commercial sex trade. So I just want to talk a bit about solutions, especially at what the anti-human trafficking unit of operation of OM is doing. So it's a department, anti-human trafficking unit. It's a department established in June of 2010, and it's a branch of the Operation Mercy India Foundation, which is a part of Operation Mobilization that addresses specifically social programs, serving the people that they work with on a holistic level, on their physical, psychological, social well-being. So I should say that Operation Mobilization has a special mission to serve the Dalit people. Have anyone heard of the untouchables? Untouchables, yeah. So the Dalits are the untouchable caste in India. They're not the only kind of oppressed, marginalized caste in India, but they're one of the most oppressed and marginalized. Historically, even till modern day, an untouchable is really like you're discriminated against, you're stigmatized in this community. Your only real opportunity in life is to engage in manual labor. A lot of them become bonded laborers, so they kind of sell themselves or go into debt, and they just work off their debt on a never-ending basis. to address this problem of human trafficking, the anti-human trafficking unit currently has 7 staff. So we have a very multicultural team, I should say. The program manager and the social workers are Indian staff, and we have Canadian consultants, and we have administrative financial department made up of Brazilian volunteers. And it's since we are a very new initiative, a very new program, we've gone through very much a period of learning and growth pains. Our first project, our biggest accomplishment right now is the establishment of Pratigya Bhavan, which means House of Promise. So we established a shelter that currently houses 15 girls. These are girls who are highly vulnerable for trafficking. So they are children of the Devadasis. So we literally, I think, what happened was they established contact with a lot of the Devadasi community. The women there agreed to have their children be housed in this supportive facility. And in this facility, these girls are able to, number one, get an education through the school that's built right next door, especially for Dalit children. They're able to get good education. They're able to get life skills training. So they participate in a sewing class where they learn how to tailor, they learn business management skills, and they receive ongoing mentorship through counselors that talk about who kind of work with them on self-esteem, on goal planning, goal setting, and life course planning, and just in general trying to build up their sense of self-worth as they go out into the world and try to set a different life for themselves. And before I left, I think one of their future hopes and dreams is that they would establish 24-hour Telugu crisis line. So Telugu is the local language that's spoken there, around human trafficking. And they will want to partner with local police to conduct raids on brothels. But that's something for the future. And I just want to show you a couple of pictures. So this is a Good Shepherd School, one of the education component of Operation Mobilization, where some of our girls, I guess all of our girls in the shelter go to this school. And as you can see, so these are all Dalit children or low-caste children who would have a very hard time attending government schools because they probably wouldn't be able to afford the uniform or the textbooks or the food. So here it's all provided at a very low cost, or if the family cannot afford to pay, it's provided free of cost. So this is a picture of the anti-human trafficking unit. So we're all working together trying to brainstorm ways of program expansion. And this is my last picture. So this is actually it's called Taraka Women's Center / shelter. This is a center for vulnerable women. They're more working with women living on the street and women engaging sex work on the street. This is in Bangalore. And what's interesting to note is that this is a picture of the program staff, but a lot of these program staff were once clients of the shelter. So they were once women engaged in prostitution or engaged or have experienced abuse or domestic violence. And this is after a couple years when they have learned English skills, different technical skills, and they are training other women, empowering other women. So I guess that the image I want to leave you with is that changes can happen and changes can be made possible when we come together as a force and work together to offer solutions to help these women's lives. Thank you so much.